Greetings everyone, welcome to Advance. This game was played in the FIDE Grand Swiss 2025 with the white black pieces. Here we have the current reigning world champion Gukesh and he's been playing spectacular chess throughout, playing so much actually and learning so much. He's gonna improve really drastically when the time comes. Here with the white pieces we have Bacrot Etienne. He's a very strong French grandmaster and as a child was a prodigy himself, so he's been playing spectacular chess as well. So this is a clash of generations, and let's see what the game instills here. So without further ado, let's start with this game here. Gukesh starts with e4. Backrot starts with e4. We have c6 by Gukesh, d4 and d5. We go into the Caro-Kann defense. We have e5 now, going for the advanced variation, but just bishop to f5, kind of like a London system, but for the black pieces. We have knight to f3, but just e6, bishop to e2, and just knight to e7. And same lines. I mean, if you ever played the London system, you know how this goes. And with this move, actually, what Gukesh is saying that somewhere along the line he might be interested in going for a fiend keto, or maybe even more. Who never knows? Here, just castles, but h6 was played, knight bd2, knight to d7, and just knight to b3. Just look at this setup. How do you ever get the bishop out of there? How do you even castle here in this position? Are you maybe preparing a queenside castle? But that's not the move here. I think you could go for a move like rook to c8 and maybe preparing c5, but I think that's just a bit too far because after c4 himself by Etienne, it would be very very difficult because now you're gonna have to put g5, and here if knight captures, h captures. If you're thinking maybe you can get something with a sacrifice here, there is not much because you just get the open file for your rook. Bishop with just one piece, you cannot actually do anything in this. There is no attack here that can happen, and sacrifice would have been worth absolutely nothing. So here after this, Gukesh goes for the best move in this position. He goes for g5, and it looks very scary honestly because you are going to castle here only. So playing a move like g5 is very very bold. Here just a4 was played by Etienne. We have bishop to g7, rook to e1, and just castles. Now going for castles toward the same side, you've pushed the pawn, but there is no way you can take even advantage of this. Knight sacrifice, I told you, doesn't do anything. And here just h3 now, not allowing g4 to be pushed ever in the future. We have b6, bishop to e3, and just rook to c8. Now just a5. Now just trying to maybe just eliminate or maybe just create some tensions. Here just c5 by Gukesh. And now what happens if you play just a captures? A captures, the issue is if you are worried about a move like uh, c4 just maybe to lock out your bishop, the issue is it doesn't do that much. Even if you go for the advanced c4, knight goes back, your position is absolutely amazing. Your pieces are a bit cramped, that's for sure, but other than that, slowly but surely you're going to have some pawn pushes, and most likely you're going to have to play towards the king side only. So let's see when that happens. But the issue is the pieces are not that worse as much Etienne thought it would be, because here after c5 he goes for bishop to a6, trying to just get the bishop out maybe before the advancement. But here rook to c7, and now here just a captures c3. And the issue is all of this happened because Etienne was worried about that his bishop would be locked out. But it doesn't really matter if the bishop would have been locked out. Somewhere along the line he would have some push, but now he creates the threats that he was feared of. And with that that just becomes much worse because he just c captures, knight b captures, and just he just go bishop to e4, just attacking this, and also maybe somewhere along the line preparing this. I don't think so here ever you want to play f5, but in some cases you could. But here just going for knight to d2, attacking the bishop, bishop back to g6, knight to b5, attacking the rook, and we have rook to c6. Now knight goes to d4, attacking the rook. We have rook to c5, knight to f3, and just rook to a5. So now what do? Do you trade? Do you move the bishop? Do you just keep the tension in between? Here just bishop to d4, just keeping the tension. Queen to c7, queen to e2, and both players just trying to put the pieces to optimal squares. Here just rook captures, and now just going for rook to a8. So you cannot move the bishop now. You have to defend the rook now. And how do you do it? Just rook to e1 was played because the queen is very nicely defending the bishop, so you don't have to worry about it. Knight to c5 now, and now just comes bishop to b5, rook to a2, rook to f1, knight to f1. And the problem is this bishop, even if it's out of its cage, is not doing that very much. Your knights and everything is not doing that very much either. It's move 27 and the pieces are not on optimal squares still. So how are you ever going to do anything in this position? But well, maybe it's a bit too early and maybe I'm judging a bit too much. But let's see what happens in the game. Knight to g3, knight to g6, and now just going for knight to h5. This knight to h5 move is a very nice move by Etienne. Getting that knight all the way over from here to here to here, and that knight is a very strong piece. Now we have bishop back to h8, knight to d2 now, and just targeting this. But now you have to understand that there could be some forcing sequence in this position here. Just rook caps on b2. Now you've given up a pawn, but what is the compensation for that pawn? I mean, I don't see any compensation. Even if you give one check, I don't think so that does anything. Even if you go for a move like this to try and harass my king from the backside, it's never going to happen, because there is no moves, there is no queen here, there is no pieces here that can back up your knight, that can back up that rook. So here rook to a1 was played, trying to go for the same thing. But the thing is, here there is a very nice move in this position. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video, try and find out the only winning move for Gukesh in this position. Not the only move, but I mean one of the two only moves. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is queen to b8, and queen to b8 with the idea that now you don't have much in this position because rook is never getting in, and there is a very dire threat in the position. Well, congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move was not at all easy. If you play a move like f3 in this position, trying to just trap my bishop, there is bishop to f5. And now, yes, g4 looks very, very nice, because it seems like my bishop doesn't have any squares. I mean, I could put it there, but I don't think I want to put it there. So what I want to play in this position is knight to h4, sacrificing an entire bishop, saying that you want to capture it. Go ahead, g captures, rook captures on d2. This was the idea and the tactic all along, because here after queen captures, now you go for this beautiful knight captures, and that would just win you your queen. But the idea was actually to go for this knight to b3, just trying to fork both the rook and the queen, and that's what you'll see in the game as well. King to f2, but after knight caps on d2, the position is absolutely lost. And even if you try to go for something else, let's say you try to play queen to e3 after this rook captures, there is not much in this position, because just rook to g2 check, king to f1, and just knight caps on f5. Now just one pawn attack your queen. You cannot even take this because your queen would be hanging. So here just queen to c1, and that's the only place where the queen can go. I mean, other than this and this, I mean, the position, the queen doesn't have as many squares. King to h2, rook to h2, but king to g1 attacking, rook captures. Now I'm attacking your knight. Where does the knight go? Knight to f6, bishop captures, e captures, and just knight cap. I mean, this is just really, really bad. I mean, the queen is getting in next, you're just getting mated, otherwise you're just completely lost. There is no hope for you in this position. So all of that could have happened, but something similar we saw in the game here. After rook to a1, we have queen to c8. So he did not find queen to b8, which was the best move, but queen to c8 works just fine, because here after c4 is not at all a good move. He's trying to create chances, he's trying to open up the position, but that's not going to happen. Here just rook captures on d2, going for the same tactic, queen captures, and now we have knight to b3. Now both of these pieces are forked. What do you do even in this position? Here queen to e3 was played. This is such a dirty move when you actually understand this. This is such a bad move, because how do you really want to capture that piece? Are you really interested in capturing that rook? The trouble is, if you capture that rook, there could be some chances of knight to f6, and this bishop is a very nice piece. So capturing it could mean that it's not the best move. Capturing the rook on a1 seems like a very good move, because you're getting a whole rook. I mean, who doesn't want that? But it's not a good move, because there's an even better move in this position, which is this knight captures on d4, and Gukesh finds this move. It reminds me of the game that he played against Gregory Oparin in St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, where he actually did not capture the piece on c6. He instead kept the bishop pair and then won the game by sacrificing the queen with a bishop checkmate. I mean, that was absolutely spectacular. But back to this game, it just queen caps on d4 was played, and now you might be wondering, well, what have you achieved? You were getting a rook, now you just given up a knight for a bishop. What is this? Now comes the idea, bishop captures on e5, and just look at this bishop pair. I mean, these are absolute majestic creatures here. Now you cannot do anything. Now here queen to d1, now trying to just save the piece, but you don't want to capture it. If you capture it, then you have to understand queen controls this entire diagonal, knight is already there. You might not survive this game, and that's actually a draw. But here just d captures, and this was Gukesh's idea all along. Here you cannot do anything. Rook to a4 was trying to go after the pawn, but now in this position it seems like you cannot even move it, otherwise you're just going to lose the bishop. But not really. Here comes c3, and c3 is a genius move here. If you capture here, just c2, and there is nothing you can do. Let's say you play queen to c1 to try and stop the promotion, but now just comes bishop to b2, and how do you stop the promotion? Even if you sacrifice a knight with something like knight to f6, which seems like an illogical move, but after this bishop captures, there is still nothing. I mean, I don't even have to capture the bishop. If you feel like you're gonna have to capture the bishop, not really, just king to h8. Now what do you do? There are no checks in the position, there is no threat that you can create. What can you do in this position? You cannot do anything here. Queen captures on b2 is the only move, and after c1, queen captures, and I have Three pieces for the queen and an extra knight. It's just completely winning, and a few extra pawns as well. You're not surviving this game. But after rook to a4, we have bishop to d5. This is the second best move. You're just saving the pawn, and there is nothing you can do about it. I mean, for white, obviously. But after queen to e2 here, we have c3. How do you stop the promotion here? Bishop to d3 was tried, but just comes queen to c7, just trying and waiting on that thrust, because now you cannot push it, otherwise you just lose the pawn. Here, bishop to c2 was tried, but just bishop to h2 check, king to f1, and bishop to e5, and king to g1 was played, but just king to f8, and now just queen to d3. So both players just waiting on it, and maybe just hoping here at Etienne to try and go for a checkmate or something here in this position, because he doesn't have anything. Knight to h4 was tried by Gukesh. He goes for it. He's like, you want to infiltrate my position? Please go ahead, be my guest. Here, just f3 now. But now just comes queen to c5 check, king moves. And while I was just looking at this position here on the live board, I was just thinking, play b5, play b5, play b5. I mean, this just looks so good, because if you play b5 here, the idea is it's the best move in this position, simply because of the fact that this looks absolutely delicious. And here, if you go queen to h7 now, just comes bishop to c4 check, and you have to sacrifice the rook. If you sacrifice the rook here, rook captures, queen captures, is king to e1. Now, unfortunately for black here, after knight caps on g2, if you go here, it's actually a mate into a queen to d4 check, and after king captures on g2, queen to d2 check, and after king to f1, bishop to d4. This is the idea. There are no checks in the position. That's very unfortunate, but there are none. And you're going to have to now sacrifice the queen. After bishop captures, now you're going to have to sacrifice the knight. And after that, I mean, most likely you're just getting checkmated. I mean, there is no way you're surviving. It's actually mate in 4, but there is no point in me showing it to you, because it's absolutely obvious. But still, this could have been all possible if that move was played, but he went for knight to f5 instead. He chooses the safer option, and now there's a check incoming, which will just pick this up. And also, I mean, this pawn push is coming. This is a really lost position. There isn't even a single check in the position. This is just absolutely lost. So it was on this move, on move 45, that here Etienne Bacrot resigned the game, and Gukesh Domaraju, current reigning world champion, got this spectacular victory. He played, I mean, really mind-blowingly here in this game, and it just reminds me of that Saint Louis Rapid and Brits, and takes me back to that queen sacrifice with that mate, and it was the same thing with the bishop pair. And he just plays. So on some days he just plays so majestically. It just makes me realize that he's world champion for definitely a reason, and it shows. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with such games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you all for watching.